let's just get into it. Let's go. Ooh, let's go. May is still a good month. May is the month that I'm coming back to reading The Fortunes of Jaded Women. Pre-order. Hi everyone, my name is Leah. Welcome back to my channel. This is an ode to fiction, a space where I discuss books, recommend books, and sometimes just scream about books. I'm back here again to update y'all with all the books that I read in the month of April and May. In the month of April, okay, I was in a really bad reading slump. I could only read like 2 books, but then I'm making a comeback in the month of May. In the month of May, by the way, I would like to remind y'all it is the Asian Heritage Month, or API month. I participated in the Asian Readathon. I made a TBR list on my blog post. I picked like 8 books to participate in the Asian Readathon, hosted by Read with Cindy. As a creature of like chaos, I cannot follow TBRs. It's just not for me. I've tried multiple times. The only thing that worked for me as a reader is just picking up whatever I'm in the mood for. So yeah, I'm gonna update y'all with everything that I've read today. So grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea or water, whatever you prefer, and let's just get into it. So I'm going to give statistics. For statistics, I usually use Storygraph, because Storygraph have like advanced beyond Goodreads by adding in stats for readers. If you like numbers, you're definitely gonna like Storygraph. For April, let's see the tragic stats. For April, I've read 2 books in total, 781 pages. First one is The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida, Córdova. It was a library loan that was on my shelf for like weeks and weeks, just rotting on my shelf. So I'm very glad that I finally picked it up. The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina, I'm gonna try to remember as best as I can. It is an adult fantasy that follows a multi-generational family, the Montoya family. This multi-generational family is called back home to where they came from because their matriarch, Orquídea Divina, is dying. The Montoya family are used to their great-grandmother, or the matriarch of the Montoya family, being a little bit eccentric. The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina is told from alternating perspectives, following Orquídea Divina through her life, as well as her great-great-grandchildren, as they try to understand their elusive grandmother, because Orquídea Divina is very secretive. She doesn't like to talk about her past. I remember that the themes in the story is heavily involved with being immigrants, and then the struggles of being an immigrant and moving to America, facing prejudices. And then also I remember that Orquídea Divina is such a prominent figure in this family. She's the one that had changed the lives of her future generations. Orquídea Divina is a fearless woman. She has drive, she has ambition to change the trajectory of her life to be something more. There's a lot of revelation from her past, and as a reader you get to understand why she moved to America and how she got to be the woman that she is. The woman married 3 men and had like a lot of children. So as you can see, it's a big family. The Montoyas is a big family. I enjoyed it, but something about the book, it isn't for me. That's why I knocked down a star, even though it's written in a beautiful way. I really like the characters, but something about it, the pacing was kind of like, it kept bouncing back and forth from slow to fast, and like I didn't have any attachment to the characters. Maybe because I was like in the start of a slump. That's why I was like, maybe it's not for me. Yeah, but I still liked everything because the story is written in a very cohesive way that I didn't see any faults in it. I just didn't have the connection, but it's definitely beautifully written. I rated The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Córdova 4 out of 5 stars. The second book I read in April. It is an arc. It is an arc that is graciously gifted to me from the publisher. Thank you, Lone Lee and Atria Books for sending an arc to me through NatGalley, and it is the arc for The Fortunes of Jaded Women by Carolyn Huynh. This book comes out on September 7th, I think 17th or 7th, 2022. I'm so happy that this book was sent to me because it is such an amazing book. For the rest of April, I tried reading multiple books. I started, but then just immediately dropped the book. But The Fortunes of Jaded Women is one of those books that definitely gripped me from the very start. The opening line itself, it is just so gripping because it just leaves the impression, and it starts the book with the right note. The book starts off with the line, "Everyone in Orange County's Little Saigon knew that the Duong sisters were cursed." The Fortunes of Jaded Women is a story about Vietnamese women. It follows a multi-generational Vietnamese family, or should I say the Duongs. The Duong women are all cursed. In Little Saigon, everyone knows that the Duong sisters were cursed. It is a curse that follows all the women of the Duong family, so they are cursed to only have women, so no sons at all. The curse can only be broken when one of the women have a son. In this book, there's a lot of characters that are women, so the characters that we follow in the story follows 3 generations. I would like to explain the characters. There will be a lot of names that I will throw at you. I hope I'm not pronouncing these wrong, but I'm gonna try my best to pronounce their names. The first one is the matriarch, Lai Min Duong, and then Lai Min Duong has 3 daughters, Mai Nguyen and her 3 daughters, Priscilla, Chui, and Chao, and then second daughter, Min Pham, and her daughter Joyce, and then the youngest, Huynh Lam, and her 2 daughters, Elaine and Christine. So there's a lot of girls in this family. But I will not go in depth about their characters because spoilers, but I will explain some things about the book that I really liked. Even though there's a lot of characters, readers, you shouldn't be worried because Carolyn is very talented in writing. I felt that the transitions were done smoothly, so there wasn't any confusion in who they are, and like every character has like a specific trait that you could pick up immediately, and they definitely have their own voices, and their personality really shines through the book, and you can definitely differentiate from each sister or cousin or aunt and mom. And like the way the book is written, the first half of the story, it talks about the second generation of the family, which is Mai, Min, and Huynh Lam. These sisters, they have been fighting each other for years, and their rivalry is very much like something that everyone in Little Saigon knows. And what I liked is how the first half is wrapped up and how they have to push through all their conflict and their fighting to find love and reconcile with each other. The second half of the story talks about the 3rd generation, which is Priscilla, Tui, Thao, Joyce, Elaine, Christine, Lily, and Rosie. They are the daughters of 2nd generation. The daughters have either moved away to another country, or moved away to a different state, or just stuck around their mother, but not finding a way to break away from them. The 3rd generation, they're pretty much done with their mothers because how their relationship deteriorated. Somehow the 3rd generation all is pulled back home to Orange County to reunite with our mothers and find like a way to build the bridge back and definitely make peace with them and just be a family again. I think the major theme of the story is just the relationship between a mom and a daughter. It is a special relationship, especially in Asian families, because like as an only daughter myself, even though I'm like the second daughter, I heavily relate to the experiences of all the daughters in this story, because you just know when like when you're a daughter, how that you're the glue that sticks the family together. You have to wear so many hats to just keep the family together and achieve the expectations that your family has of you. It is just amazing reading this book. It's definitely a love letter written for Asian women. I could not express how much I love this book. I love the fantastical elements in the book because it reminds me a lot of those, like every family has this shaman they go to, and like, you know, like I have friends that have like a shaman they go to ask about some things, and like that's what makes the story more interesting, because you cannot predict what the shaman will say or predict and stuff. And there's like perspective from the shaman if you read the book, which made it more interesting. So Carolyn Huynh's writing, she knows how to write serious moments and then also make it dramatic and emotional, deeply personal. There's like a chapter that I really like, and it's so chaotic. When I thought it was like it was already bad, it got worse and worse and worse, and it just kept rolling. It's just so good, that chapter. Carolyn, if I mention this chapter, I think you know which chapter I mean. It's so chaotic. I love it. Your writing is just amazing. Any Asian reader that reads this book, I'm sure that you can see yourself in any of the characters in this story. It is just so amazing. It's so brilliant, and I'm so happy that I could read this book early before the release date. Definitely pre-order The Fortunes of Jaded Women. It's just phenomenal. I rated The Fortunes of Jaded Women 4.5 out of 5 stars. Love you, Carolyn. The Fortunes of Jaded Women, pre-order. So that is the last book I read in the month of April. So in the month of May, I read a total of 5 books. In pages, it's 1,595 pages, which is quite nice. For the Asian Readathon, I picked like 8 books, but I ended up reading only 3. The first one, it's an arc, and it is The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. The Stardust Thief is written by a quaint American writer, Chelsea Abdullah, and this book is her debut book. It is a story that is inspired by the 1001 Nights. The Stardust Thief is a multi-POV story, so there's a lot of characters. The first one is Loli Al-Lazari, and she is the Midnight Merchant, aka a legendary merchant, a very elusive figure that deals artifacts. And then the second character is her Loli's bodyguard. His name is Kadir. The third character is the cowardly prince that loves to hear stories, tell stories, and of course write stories, and it is Prince Mazen. He is famous for being soft-hearted, very nice, very caring. In this book, you definitely see a lot of soft sides from him. And then the fourth character is the bodyguard for the prince, and she is, what's her name? Aisha. She is part of the 40 of the first prince's 40 thieves. She is a ruthless woman that is not scared to use her weapons to kill jinns. She is just amazing. So the dynamics of the squad, I had high expectations for it because like Kadir is a jinn, and then Aisha is a jinn killer, and then there's drama between Prince Mazen and like Loli because they have some interaction during the start of this story. Loli is given a task by the Sultan to find a magical artifact in the desert, and it is a magical lamp. This magical lamp is believed to contain a djinn. So yeah, that's the gist of this story, is them going on an adventure to a desert to find an artifact for the Sultan. I would like to be very honest with my reviews. I've written a long review on my blog. I have described in detail of all the things that I liked and disliked about the story. This is the first book to a trilogy. So of course, Chelsea Abdullah would like to build the world that serves as the background of the whole plot of the story. And it is an introduction to the world and the magic. And it is the first steps that sets the tone of the overall series. And for me, reading the Stardust Thief, I was invested for the first 50% of the book. I felt that the story took a long time to finally take shape, and I felt that the pacing was it's more on the slow side, because it took a while for the characters to finally meet in the middle and just start their big adventure. When the adventure started, I lost interest in the story fully, because the characters weren't as interesting to me as I thought they were. Because all the characters don't really have much to go on. For the Stardust Thief, what I really like is a story within a story, and you see a lot of myth and legends from the world, and you can connect those to the characters, because Chelsea Abdullah really walked teetering between illusion and what is real. So that's what I find very interesting. But yet again, the characters aren't as strong as I want them to be, because I didn't have any connection to them. I didn't have any connection with them because they seem very one-dimensional for me. I felt like they could be explored more. Since this is the first book, I shouldn't have these high expectations, but as a reader, you know when the story is not working for you, when you hit halfway and you feel like you want to just stop there. I didn't like the Stardust Thief that much, even though this book was hyped up as something that is like super epic. And I felt like this is just like an okay read for me. So yeah, I rated the Stardust Thief 3 out of 5 stars. The next book, For Aunties and a Wedding by Jessie Q Sutanto. She is an Indonesian writer that wrote Dial A for Aunties. I read Dial A for Aunties like last year. I really loved it. It is a mystery comedy and a little bit of romance. And then this is the sequel where the main character, Mehdi, gets married. When I started this book, I thought it would be a fun wedding scene, and then there was something gonna happen. And I felt that some books really did not deserve to have a sequel, and this book is that. Because this sequel, I don't know what this sequel is, because it is just not it for me. The reasoning why I say that this book does not live up to the first book, because of the jokes that were used in this book. I felt that Jessie really recycled a lot of the things that we found very cute and endearing in the first book, and that is the Aunties. I understand the Aunties are written as a hyperbolic version of an Indonesian auntie. I myself, as an Indonesian, have met a lot of aunties. Yes, my mom's friends, and then total strangers. But still, I didn't like the stereotypical shallow depiction of these aunties, because Jessie Q Sutanto really hammered in how technologically inept these aunties are. They don't know about certain customs and cultures, how ridiculous they are, and the whole story, the knockout punch is just the aunties doing stupid stuff, and then the main character Mehdi feeling embarrassed about it. I just didn't like that. It just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth, and I'm so sad that I had to say that because I've never read a book that depicts Asian women like this. It's just not right. I don't like it. I'm not gonna say anymore. I rated 4 Aunties and a Wedding 2 out of 5 stars. I would have knocked it to 1, but I'm just gonna give it a 2 because I didn't get that mad. If I was super mad, I would have given it a 1. So next, I needed to recover from the horrible experience of reading 4 Aunties and a Wedding. So I read Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Malinda Lo. It is a young adult contemporary historical fiction. So reading Last Night at the Telegraph Club after reading The Dumpster Fire, that was the previous book, was like a breath of fresh air because Malinda Lo knows how to write good stories. In this story, you follow a Chinese girl in the 1950s. She is a high school senior that is about to graduate as she tries to discover herself. In Last Night at the Telegraph Club, the main character is Lily Hu. She starts questioning about her sexuality after she saw an ad for a nightclub, and that nightclub is the Telegraph Club. And then she found this answer in another character named Kathleen Miller. Kathleen Miller is a Caucasian student that was in Lily Hu's math class. So they start having like a friendship, and their relationship started to bloom into something more than a friendship. Being set in the 1950s, being a lesbian isn't something that is not something that is common. It is definitely something that is queer, and like when reading Last Night at the Telegraph Club, you get to see a lot of perspective from Lily's mother and Lily's father and Lily's aunt. All of them are like immigrants from China, and you get to see their life unfold as when they moved from China to America to achieve the American dream. And you can also follow Lily's journey as she tries to rediscover herself as a person that doesn't follow the stereotypes that was set in front of her. In this young adult story, it's very much a tender, soft, and slow-paced story. You have to really ruminate with each unfolding of this story. You get to see the characters slowly grow to be the open and confident characters they are. Even though I felt like the ending wasn't like the happy ending that everyone was rooting for, but I felt like the ending was like the right ending to end it with because it's very realistic, and it felt like it gives a lot of closure for readers to see the characters evolve without it being too unrealistic. Because a few books I've read of contemporary books, it always achieves this very happy note that seems like it's not realistic enough in my eyes. So I'm very happy that I've read this story and it achieves an ending that I want, which is like an ending that is realistic and achievable, and it makes sense. So yeah, I rated Last Night at the Telegraph Club 4 out of 5 stars. By the way, you can find out a lot of history about the Asian American community in San Francisco through this book, because you get to see how during this time in the 50s there was a lot of communist scare labeled as the Red Scare. So you get to see a lot of perspective on that if you want to know the history of how the Chinese Americans face when they are accused as communists. You can also read a lot of it in the author's note if you want to know more. So yeah, definitely highly recommend this book. Next book, I wanted something light, I wanted something happy, so I picked up She Gets the Girl by Rachael Lippincott and her wife Alyson Derrick. She Gets the Girl is a young adult queer romance story. It follows two characters. One of them is Alex and Molly. Both characters are freshman college students that just started their year in college. Alex is a confident, flirty, and she is cool. She's definitely that cool girl that you're intimidated to like approach, but she knows what she's doing, so she's definitely the one that makes the first move. She's very friendly and she can easily interact with people, while Molly is the studious shy and awkward girl. And somehow Alex and Molly developed a friendship after Alex offers to help Molly to get her crush, her dream girl that also goes to the same college as them. So yeah, the story is very wholesome and it is set in college, so you definitely, if you're a reader that is like just graduated high school and you wouldn't like a story that follows someone that's same as Yuri, definitely read She Gets the Girl. In this story, you get to see that opposites do attract. You get to see how Alex slowly opens up to Molly, because Alex is not the type to usually express her feelings. It's not the type to like to share her experiences to other people. And you get to see Molly bloom as a person, to be more someone that is that can easily step out of her comfort zone, and how she develops to be a confident girl that is also unapologetically awkward. In this book, it's definitely very wholesome. You get to see a lot of growth between the characters. It is definitely not something that I usually gravitate towards, but I'm very happy that I picked this up because I needed something light. I enjoyed this book overall, and I'm very happy I picked it up. I rated She Gets the Girl by Rachael Lippincott and Alyson Derrick 4 out of 5 stars. Love you guys. By the way, this book is recommended by my friend Birdie. Birdie, if you're watching, thank you. So next, it is the last book I read in the month of May, and it is a novella. It is the other fantasy book that I picked up, and it is Nettle and Bone by Kingfisher. I'm so happy I picked up this book from the library because I've just picked it up randomly. Nettle and Bone is a story that follows a young girl, a princess turned nun, that is given a task by a witch in the forest because she wants to kill the prince that is married to her sister. To get the tools to kill the prince, she is given 3 tasks, and the first task is to sew a cloak out of nettle. The second one is to build a dog out of bones, and then the third one to capture moonlight in a jar. When I read the story, it's definitely just like the blurb. It talks about how the princess is given these tasks and how she works hard to achieve these very painful and very, very hard tasks. But then when it hits around like a good 40 to 50%, the story takes a turn. And I mean, like, it's not a turn for the words, it's like a turn for like something that I was not expecting. I love the way that Kingfisher threw a curveball at me because I did not expect the story to go where it's going. I love the fact that in this story it's a found family story as well, because besides the princess, there's also like a bunch of characters that she finds along the way to kill the prince. It is definitely a dark fantasy because the atmosphere and the tone of the story is very, very dark. It's very, very dim. It is also very, very funny. If you read this book, you'll definitely laugh a few times. I myself laughed and chuckled at like a few lines that the characters were having. The banter is very, very like top tier for me. Maybe I have like the really bad taste in jokes, but I really love it. I loved everything about this story, especially the banter. The atmosphere is very, very exquisitely executed. I really like the world building. It's not that hard to grasp, and then the magic part is also very, very intriguing. It's very simplified, but it's not too hard to get into it. Just the characters is everything. I don't want to explain anything about the characters, even though it's like a vital part of the story, but it's all spoilers. So yeah, I'm definitely recommend going into the story blind, because you can definitely feel the curveball hitting you much harder if you go into the story blind. I highly recommend this book because it's so much fun. It's like 200 pages of just like fun. I thought when I started reading this I wouldn't like it, but then it hit the sweet spot and I was like, yes, I'm gonna continue reading. It's so funny. I rated Nettle and Bone by Kingfisher 4 out of 5 stars. So yeah, everyone, that is all the books I read in the month of April and May. In total, I read 7 books. Yes, I was in a slump, but I'm coming back and I'm reading more. So I'm very excited for June. It is Pride Month, so celebrate reading LGBTQIA books, all the queer books, all the gays, all the lesbians, all the non-binary books. Every single book represents the rainbow. Rated. So yeah, I'm excited for June, but I'm definitely gonna read whatever my mood wants to read. I don't want to push myself. You have a great Pride Month. Celebrate this month, everyone. Have a good day. Stay healthy. Drink water. I still haven't finished my coffee, but yeah. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you like the content that I'm posting. So if you like to read an in-depth review of all the books I read, you can follow my Goodreads, you can follow my Storygraph, or you can follow my blog. That's where I post everything. And definitely follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, I hope you have a great day. Bye.